All right, welcome back, everybody. It's Bruce, the Epic Experiment. We are back another week, another deck tech. You know what, folks? One of the things that I really take great joy in is I've got some kids. My two children, my two boys, are of an age where they're starting to enjoy the game of Magic. And one of the things that I have appreciated is that their willingness to take chances and risks and play things that I would normally play. This is a deck that one of my boys has brewed up. This is Loot Exuberant Explorer. So it's a mono green devotion deck. Landfall deck. That is pretty neat. So Loot is 2 and a green for a 1/4 legendary creature Beast Noble. You may play an additional land on each of your turns, and then 4 green tap. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from among them and put it onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom in a random order. So Loot is encouraging you to A, make extra land drops, and then use those extra land drops to go and find some big things in your deck that you can activate and use Loot's ability. Okay? So my son took this and turned this into a Mono Green Landfall Matters deck, which is really quite budget friendly. If I remember checking it out, it's about $250. This is a bracket 3 list. We'll talk about the bracket 3 it doesn't need to be, but it is, and let's talk about that. So, let's talk about the payoffs first. What are we looking for with Loot to go and find with all the lands that we're going to presumably dig out of our deck? Okay, so one of the cards we have an Ivy Lane Denizen. Ivy Lane Denizen is 3 and a green for a 2/3. Whenever another green creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. This is going to be, since everything in the deck is green, every creature you're going to play is going to get something's going to pick up a counter. So kind of an easy, cheap way to, make sure you get some extra value out of your stuff. We have a Lumbering World Wagon. So this is 2 and a green for a vehicle. Star 4. This vehicle's power is equal to the number of lands you control. Whenever this vehicle enters or attacks, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and shuffle, and has crew 4. Well, the crew 4 cost is fairly manageable in this deck because of all the number of large creatures. And the fact that this digs you up lands is exactly what you want to do. And it can get really big. Then we have the Tarask. So 6, green for a 10/10 with the Tarask has haste and ward 10 as long as it was cast. Whenever the Tarask attacks, it fights target creature defending player controls. My son, admittedly, he just plays this because it's big and he likes it. So there we go. But this would be a great hit off of Loot to put this into play. So interesting choice. Hulking Raptor, 2 green for a 5/3 with Ward 2. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add green. So, not only is it a pretty big thumper, it is also a really good way to add some extra green mana to your mana pool. Then we have Garrick's Horde, 5 green for a 7/7 creature beast with trample. Play with the top card of your library revealed. You may cast the top card of your library if it's a creature card. So this allows you to cast creatures on the top of your deck. It is a big old thumper in and of itself. Pretty handy for 50 cents or whatever it is. It's a good piece of inclusion. Here's our bracket 3 card. This is our game changer. Vorinclex, Voice of Hunger. 6 green for a 7/6 with trample. Legendary creature Praetor. Whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana to your mana pool of any type that land produced. So it doubles your mana production. Whenever an opponent taps a land for mana, that land doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So it hampers them, it boosts your mana production, and allows you to ramp out further. Now, this doesn't need to be in this deck. This could be just about anything else, but my son was looking through my cards, and he goes, "Hey, Dad, you're not playing Vorinclex. Could I play Vorinclex?" And I'm like, well, I guess, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, then we have Ghalta, Primal Hunger, 10 green for a 12/12. Legendary creature Elder Dinosaur. This spell costs X less to cast for X the total power of creatures you control, and it has trample. This is almost assuredly just going to get cast for 3 or 4 mana because you're going to have enough other sizable things on the battlefield. Slavering Branch Snapper. We have 4 green for a 7/6 with trample and 4 cycling 2. All right. We have Tarian World Tyrant, 2 green for a 9/7 vanilla creature. All right, we have an Ulvenwall Oddity. So 2 green for a creature beast with trample and haste. 5 green, transform Ulvenwall Oddity. And this side of it is a 4/4. However, when you transform it, because you have gigantic piles of land, you make an Uvenwald Oddity, and it is an 8/8 with trample and haste, and other creatures you control get +1/+1 and have trample and have haste. This side is the side you want to get it to, and it is an absolute devastating knockout blow if you can flip it over. Next, we have Topiary Panther, 4 green for a 6/5 with trample and basic land cycling. You notice the trend. There's a lot of trample in this deck. We have Wrecking Beast, so 5 green for a 6/6 with Beast with Riot and Trample. So it could come with a counter or it could have haste. And then Palaka Worm, 4 green for a 7/7 with Trample. When it enters the battlefield, gain 7 life. When Palaka Worm is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. So you're playing with all sorts of really big creatures. All right, but there's other landfall payoffs that are coming up. All right, so let's talk about some of our landfall payoffs. So first off, we have a Rampaging Baloth. 4 green for a 6/6 with Trample. Whenever a land you control enters the battlefield, create a 4/4 green beast creature token. So very easily you can flood the board with a bunch of 4/4s. EU Social Engineering, 3 green for an enchantment with landfall, and is whenever a land you control enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token, and has warp for 1 and a green. Now, the warp ability is not usually what my son wants to play this for. He wants to just straight up play this as a 5-mana enchantment, but the fact you could play it for its warp cost is kind of interesting. Flourishing Bloomkin, so 1 and a green for a plant elemental. Flourishing Bloomkin gets +1/+1 for each forest you control. Has Disguise for 4 and a green, and when it's flipped face up, search your library for up to 2 forest cards, reveal them, put 1 into the battlefield tapped and the other in your hand, and shuffle. All right, makes guaranteed big thing. We have Scoot Swarm. This is a landfall staple, 2 and a green for a 1/1 creature insect. With landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 green insect creature token. If you control 6 or more lands, create a token that's a copy of Scoot Swarm. So that's going to get exponential very quickly with all the land drops we're going to make. I'll show you very quickly. Uvenwald Hydra, so 4 green for a star Hydra with reach. Uvenwald's Hydra power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. When Uvenwald Hydra enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So again, goes and finds a land, put it directly into play to make it bigger, and it has reach, which is super useful in a green deck. So we have Kazanu Mammoth, so 1 green for a 3/3 with landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, the Mammoth gets +2/+2 until end of turn. And then on the other side, since this is an MDFC, it is a land on the other side. All right, next we have, this one's Mightform Harmonizer. This might be the best card in the deck. 2 green, Insect Druid it's a 4/4. Whenever a land you control enters the battlefield, double the power of target creature you control until end of turn. And then warp 2 and a green. So you would think that with just a single land being made as a drop is not going to be particularly egregious with this particular card. But what you're going to see here is that this deck creates multiple land drops very readily, meaning that your Mightform Harvester is going to make something very, very large very, very quickly. And if you have things that have trample already, like a Galta or a Topiary Panther or some of the other big honkers that are here, you're going to have very, very large creatures that are going to swing out and probably crush your opponents. So that's a very good card. Kazanu Nectar Pot, 1 and a green for a 1/3 insect with landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. All right. We have Territorial Scythe Cat, 2 and a green, 2/1 trample. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Territorial Scythe Cat. This gets big very quickly in this list. Then we have Glacier Godmaw, 5 green for 6/6 with trample. It's a Leviathan. When this creature enters, create a lander token. That's a pretty cool token because it allows you essentially like a rampant growth. And then whenever a land you control enters, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain vigilance and haste until end of turn. For me, it's the haste that's attached to this, although vigilance is also very handy. Giving things haste is just outrageous. Avenger of Zendikar, another staple of this sort of style of deck. 5 green for a 5/5 elemental. When this creature enters, create a 0/1 green plant creature token for each land you control. When a land you control enters, you may put a +1/+1 counter on each plant creature token you control. So you're going to very easily take your 6, 7, 8 plant tokens and make them very, very big. Tifa Lockhart, so 1 and 0 green for a 1/2 with trample. It's a legendary creature, human monk. Landfall. When a land you control enters, double Tifa Lockhart's power until end of turn. Doesn't take long for this to go from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, and then 8 to 16, and now you're swinging for a whole pile of damage, and people have to respect that. And then we have Eudora Grave Gardener, 4 and a green for a legendary creature, Treefolk Druid. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may return it to the battlefield face down under its owner's control. It's a forest land. So you're going to potentially have creatures that die, and then Eudora sees them and turns them back into forests, which triggers landfall all over again for anything else that's left. Okay, so that's all the things. Let's talk about how we're going to be making land drops. We have a gigantic ramp package, which is kind of what makes this deck appealing. Because the ramp package is so straightforward, it's just to make a bunch of land drops. You're going to find that this deck is reasonably straightforward for a new or younger player to play. Well, we have a Sol Ring. All right, Sol Ring is a staple, should be in almost every deck. There's no reason not to. All right, then we have Harrow. So 2 and a green, instant. As additional cost to cast Harrow, sacrifice a land, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, and put them onto the battlefield. Then shuffle your library. This, as an instant speed trick, can make you blockers with the Bailoth. It can make you, your things bigger, like your Scythe Cat. You have all sorts of tricks with that. So that's like a combat trick at instant speed. Explosive Vegetation, 3 and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. Okay, you're getting a pattern here, right? Lots of 2 drops. Explore, 1 and a green. You may play an additional land this turn. Draw a card. So you can draw, and after you've drawn, you can then proceed to play an additional land. Yes, please. Sprouting Vines, 2 and a green for an instant. Search your library for a basic land card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your library. So if this has Storm on it, so potentially you could go and find a whole bunch of things if you could cast a couple of spells at a time. Meaning that you're going to have, sift through your deck. There'll be no lands left in your list, and your opponents are going to be wondering, why you keep drawing gas. Winding Way, 1 and a green. Creatures, choose a creature or land. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all cards on the chosen type. Reveal this way in your hand, and the rest in your graveyard. So, do you need action? All right, let's go find creatures. Do you need lands to fuel those creatures? Well, let's go get the lands. This is a fantastic card and is a common and is overlooked criminally. All right, next, Vastwood Surge. So 3 and a green with also it's a sorcery for it also has kicker 4. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. If this spell was kicked, put 2+1 counters on each creature you control. So this can act like an overrun. Now it's an expensive one at 8 mana, but giving your things +2/+2 permanently is big game. So it's a very good inclusion. Cultivate. So this is a good one. 2 and a green. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal those cards. Put 1 onto the battlefield. Tapped, and the other in your hand. Then shuffle your library. All right. 2 land drops easily. Seek the Horizons. 3 and a green. Search your library for up to 3 basic lands. Reveal them. Put them into your hand. And then shuffle your library. Doesn't put it into play, but you're going to have other ways to do that here in a second. Llanowar Elves. Okay. Ramp for sure. We have a Moldering Gym and a Weight Room. So the Moldering Gym half, when you unlock this door, search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, tapped, and shuffle. Okay, seems useful. And then the 6 mana side, when you unlock this door, manifest Dread, and then put 3+1 counters on that creature. So you're clearly looking to play the Moldering Gym portion, not just the Weight Room, but if you need to, you got it to make yet another big thing. Caramanta's Acolyte, 3 and a green for a 1/4. Tap to add green equal to your mana pool equal to your devotion to green. All right, so let's take advantage of our mana pips on all our creatures. Beanstalk Giant is a great inclusion. So 7 mana, star, where stars equal to the number of lands you control, but it also is an adventure. 2 and a green. Search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, tapped, and shuffle. So you're going to get a lot of value out of things like that. We have Dance of the Tumbleweed. This may as well be another card that is kind of like an adventure, because you've got Spree, 1 and a green, and then you could pay an extra 1, search your library for a basic land card or a desert, okay? Or pay 3 extra, create an XX green elemental creature token where X is the number of lands you control. So this can make a body, this can find you lands, it can make you a body and a land. So that's a really good card in this list, so that you can turn your ramp spells into bodies. Sakura Tribe Elder. Steve is still a staple of landfall decks everywhere. Can't overlook it. Nissa's Pilgrimage. I like this card. 2 and a green. Sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal those cards and put 1 onto the battlefield tapped and the rest into your hand and shuffle your library. And then it's got Spell Mastery, where it says if there are 2 or more instant or sorcery cards in your graveyard, search your library for up to 3 basic land cards instead of 2. So finding 3 sounds exactly what I want to do. Journey of Discovery, 2 and a green. Is choose 1. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. Or you may play up to 2 additional lands this turn and entwine for an additional 2 and a green. So for 6 mana, you go find 2 lands, put them into play. Not a terrible rate, just useful enough to be worthwhile playing. District Guide, 2 and a green. Search your library for a gate or a basic land card. Put it in your hand and shuffle. All right. We have Undo Giants, 3 and a green for 2/4. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land card. Put it into the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. You got a trend here, folks, right? Invasion of Zendikar. So you go find 2 basic lands, and if you can attack it down, it flips into a 4/4. All right. We've got Beneath the Sands, 2 and a green. This is go find a basic, or it can cycle. We have Adventurous Impulse, single green. Look at the top 3 cards. You reveal a creature or land, put whatever you like, and then put the others on the bottom of your library in any order. And last but not least, we have Rampant Growth. So we'll find extra land. All right, so we're making lots of land drops, but the problem is many of those cards get them stuck in our hands. So we're going to need to go put them into play with some things like an Oracle of Moldiah. We have an Azusa Lost But Seeking. We have a Skyshroud Ranger, and we have a Scaled Herbalist. All right, so those cards are going to allow you to make extra land drops. These ones, you have to tap them to play the extra lands. These ones just let you put them into play. So in addition to loot, you're going to have lots of ways to put extra lands into play. All right, let's talk about some finishers, because this deck feels like, in addition to the Mightform Harvester being a finisher, there's a few other tricks. So first off, we have Garruk's Uprising. This is going to grant anything with power 4 or greater trample. When you already have big things, you're going to want to make sure you get the damage through, so trample is your friend. We have an Overrun. All right, so 2 green. Creatures you control get +3/+3 and trample till end of turn. If you haven't died to Overrun in your lifetime, what are you doing? You have clearly not lived. All right, we have a Blanchwood Armor. So this is an enchantment on a creature. Enchanted creatures +1/+1 for each forest you control. This is on a trampling creature. This is a problem, and this is a finisher because you're going to put this on something, and now your thing's going to be gigantic because all you have is forests, and it's going to do a world of hurt to somebody. All right, we have Brawn. Brawn is 3 and a green for a 3/3. As long as Brawn is in your graveyard and you control a forest, creatures you control have trample. I really want to get the damage through, so we're going to get some more trampling done. And we have Summon Fat Chocobo. All right, so Chapter 1, 5 and a green for a 4/4. Chapter 1, create a 2/2 green creature token with whenever a land enters the battlefield, it gets +1/+0. And then Chapters 2, 3, and 4, creatures you control gain trample until in the end of turn. So you're going to be guaranteed to get your damage through. All right, these are going to help you push damage through so that all those gigantic fatty creatures are going to be able to push through and deal damage to end people off. And then with the Mightform Harmonizer, you're going to have a whole lot of really big creatures that are going to be as a result of its landfall trigger. So doubling all sorts of things power. It's going to be great. All right. Last but not least, we have a few little tricks in the list here. We've got a Twists and Turns. And this one's like a really sneaky one. Goes in addition to your loot, Twist and Turns is a really neat little enchantment. So a single green as an enchantment. If a creature you control would explore, instead, you scry 1. Then that creature explores. When Twist and Turns enters the battlefield, target creature you control explores. Okay. When a land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands, transform Twists and Turns. Okay. Turns into a land, and then for 3 and a green, tap, look at the top 4 cards. You reveal a creature card from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of the library in any order. So you're going to be guaranteed to go looking for your lands, looking for your creatures, so you can keep the flow of green beef just going. All right? We got a Wilderness Reclamation, so 3 and a green for an enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, untap all lands you control. And then last but not least, we have a Crossing Grip to go and destroy target enchantment or artifact. This deck is very straightforward. All right, it does the thing that is telling you it's going to do. It's going to make tons of creatures, play lands, and then bash you in the face. But it is a really neat little deck. And by and large, my son was the one who went through and found the pieces. Dad had a little bit of help towards the end with a few of the finishing touches. But this budget-friendly deck is a really good starting tool for somebody new to the game, or somebody you want to lend out, a deck to somebody so they can try it out. It plays on rails. It's very forgiving. You're never going to run out of lands to go and make sure you can cast your spells. It's actually a really fun deck to play. And it can pack a pretty big wallop without too much trouble. So, it is a bracket 3 list. Like I said, the Vorinclex makes you bracket 3. I feel pretty comfortable playing at bracket 3 pods with this particular deck. Yes, you have to sort of rely on the fact that the opposition isn't particularly interactive with you. But because it can do such damage out of nowhere, that may be okay. So, there we have it. Loot Exuberant Explorer. The list is going to be in the description down below. You can check the link along with all of our deck lists from the show on there. You can check out anything that's been brewed up. They're all there on our Moxfield account. If you like what you hear and you would like to hear more, you can hear our weekly podcast. The link is down below, again, in the description. Feel free to click it and follow along. Last but not least, like and subscribe here. We hit over 60. We'd like to get to up to 100 here and before we get to Halloween. But I need some help from you guys out there. So if you're out watching this, please like and subscribe. Let somebody know that we're out here doing good stuff, trying to make sure that you guys have deck ideas and can see that playing Magic doesn't have to be super expensive. All right? That's all for me for right now. Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you next time.